I am the daughter of parents who immigrated to this country legally. They came with, everybody chuckles at that, but I have to say it, it's important. They came with $10 in their pockets. They moved to New York, and they pulled themselves out by their bootstraps. They learned the English language, learned about our history, and when they pledged their allegiance to the American flag, they knew exactly what they were saying, and my father said, I meant every word of it. And so it's really interesting to hear him talk about that. So they worked hard for everything they have. They, again, pulled themselves up by their bootstraps, and I watched them work several jobs to make ends meet. On the first day of college, I took my dad with me because he's the fun parent. He is the one that I'm very close to my dad. I love my mother also, but my mother was always, so I wanted to take my dad with me because he and I are very close. And so, there was one point where he got very serious, and he looked at me and he said, Mia, your mother and I have done everything we could to get you here today. We've worked hard. We have never taken a handout. He said, you will not be a burden to society. You will give back. And that's one of the times where I guess where most of the time parents say something and it goes through one ear and out the other. That was one of the times where I tuned in and I remembered and I listened and I took those values and principles with me everywhere I went. I graduated from the University of Hartford in Connecticut, moved to Utah, and Utah, I was there for I was supposed to be there for about 6 months. So previous to that, I went to church. I became a member of the LDS Church when I was in Connecticut. I moved to Utah, which was only supposed to be for about 6 months after college. And I tried to introduce my roommate to a young man named Jason, who I met on a mission. And I thought, oh my gosh, I know he's home. You should meet him. He's really cute. You guys would make a great couple. Well, he and I ended up getting together, and 6 months turned into 14 years, 14 amazing years. We've got 3 children, and I have the most incredible husband, I believe, for me in the world. He's just fantastic, a great partner. So background, a little bit of working background. I was an account manager for a company called Cento, and I went over to another company working in their marketing department called EchoPass, helping out with their voice over IP product, helping to market that product. And after having my daughter was 6 months old, I decided I was going to leave and I was going to raise my daughter. So, after my daughter, I spent about 1.5 years at home doing all of these other things, and I enjoyed every minute of it. My neighbors came to me and said, Mia, you should run for city council. You know how to get things done. Go run for city council. So, that phrase in the back of my head, you will not be a burden to society, you will give back. So I said, okay, I'll run for city council. Well, a couple of interesting things are happening in Saratoga Springs. Big growth, tons of growth going on in Saratoga Springs. And we were doing all of that on building permits because the city was growing so much. When we incorporated in '97, we had 2 state roads, no infrastructure, no police department, no fire department, you name it, with 1,000 people. So they were assessed the lowest ag tax in Utah County. So when they incorporated, they never set a municipal tax because they were doing we were growing so much. So I remember going in saying, what's going to happen if the housing market crashes? And I was told, that will never happen. That will never happen. Isn't that funny?
Yeah.
That will never happen. Well, of course, in 2008, that's exactly what happened. We saw a $3.5 million shortfall. And what were we left to do? We had to cut spending. It was one of the most difficult things I had to do. You wouldn't believe how many people will hold on to things like baby contests, right? But it's not my job to do everything for everyone. I know what my job is, and it's very little, actually. It's moving out of the way. So, with that, we rolled up our sleeves. We cut 67% in some areas, lower areas 30%. The only thing that we didn't cut was public safety. And we made sure that our tax paid for nothing but public safety. Our property tax paid for nothing but public safety. And everything else had to be self-sustainable or had to be paid some other way because we weren't going to continue to do the same things that, say, Washington was doing. We wanted to be financially stable. We put a lot of other policies in place. I can't give you all of them because really this is not about a lesson of Saratoga Springs, but got rid of the cost of living increase. We started looking at what our unrealized debt was. So we got, instead of, there was no limit to paid time off. So we made sure that we put a cap on that because West Jordan went through some issues with that, with their city manager leaving with quite a bit of funds. So now Saratoga Springs, I was elected 60% of the votes as mayor, and now Saratoga Springs has the highest bond rating available to it. Standard & Poor's released a statement saying they had no choice but to give Saratoga Springs the highest bond rating because their financial future is so bright. It didn't come without a lot of sacrifice and without a lot of pulling yourself up by your bootstraps.
So Saratoga Springs bond rating is better than the United States government's?
Oh, we've got a double A plus bond rating,
That's pretty good for a city.
which is the highest we'll ever get at
Yeah.
build out. So that's the highest for our municipality that we'll ever get with the population that
So
we'll
comparing
have.
apples to apples, we have
Apples
higher
to
rating,
apples, we
and we
have the
better
highest
than the US
rating. We
government.
have the highest rating we'll ever get, yes. Yes, so while Washington was getting a downgrade, we were getting an upgrade. Why is this important to you? Because we need a little bit of that in Washington, wouldn't you say? Over 50% of our fellow Americans believe it's okay to take from one and give to another. That's not what we believe in. Those are not our values. Here in Utah, we believe that you're not entitled to anything that you don't own, earn, work for, or pay for yourself. That's what we believe in. We believe that the only way you're going to realize the truth of the American dream is through some work. If we are going to provide to everyone from cradle to grave, I guarantee you we will never have enough money. It will never happen. So what do we do about this? Some would say we should take a 2x4 to Washington. Well, I think that there are too many people on both sides running around with 2x4s beating each other over the head. I believe that what we need to do is change the way we deliver the message to the American people. And we change the way we deliver the message by changing the messenger. We have got to get our fellow Americans to come along with us. We've got to get our fellow Americans to believe that government dependency is not what's going to get them out of the rut that they're in. That it's going to be through getting government to step out of the way and allowing the private sector to create jobs so that they have equal opportunity, not equal economics. Right? So that's why I'm here. I believe that we can make a difference. I believe that we can actually get our country. There's still hope. It's not all doom and gloom. It's really bad. I'll tell you right now, $16 trillion in debt, that's not even including our unrealized debt, or the things that we owe or have promised. But there are things that we've got to do. Roll up our sleeves, pull ourselves up by our bootstraps to get our country back on the right track. And that's what I'm here to do. Fiscal discipline, limited government, personal responsibility. If you want something, if you want to start remodeling the kitchen while the house is on fire, I'm not your candidate. If you want somebody that's going to try and funnel money into your city, that's not me. I'm here to get us back on our feet economically. And the first difference we must make is to beat Jim Matheson to get there. I'm going to introduce my friend. I always do that, Kevin. Say hi to Kevin. He's the Democrat that follows me around everywhere. Does his opposition work. So.
Hi, Kevin.
Is he brain dead or his eyes isn't open yet, huh?
Here we go.
He's well behaved. We appreciate that.
Exactly.
I'm trying to actually bring him along with us, right? Okay, so I want to be able to answer any questions you have, and then, we'll go from there. Yes, Ron?
Hello, Mia. How are you?
Hello, how are you?
I'm going to have a number of questions for you tonight, but I will not dominate it.
Okay.
You did bring up something really important. None of this matters unless a Republican gets elected. What makes you uniquely qualified to defeat Jim Matheson in the 4th District?
Great. I'm glad you asked that question. It's usually what I close with.
And that's not a plant question, by the way.
That's what I,
Same
that's
question
usually
I had.
what I close with. Okay, here's what happens. We know, we have the data, we know exactly how Matheson wins these races, right? He is 6-0. He's good at what he does. What he does is he takes Republican nominees and defines them in the eyes of the public as being too extreme. That's what he's been able to do. And then he picks up the independent votes, he picks up the moderate votes, and he picks up even some women votes. He can't win without those votes. That's his formula. He's got that formula down. He's beaten us with that formula 6 times. And I'm telling you right now, if you elect any of the other candidates, we'll be handing him that formula a 7th time because it's the same candidate that he's been up against over and over again. What is the definition of insanity?
Doing the same thing over and over
Doing
again,
the same
expecting a different
thing
result.
over and over again and expecting a different result. Because of who I am and where I come from, he is unable to define me the way he will, the way he has the 6 before, and the way he will the others. Now, I'm not going out and let's be very clear here, okay? Saratoga Springs doesn't hold the highest bond rating because I'm black and female. That did not happen. It's because of the policies I put in place, okay? You need to know that. That didn't happen. I wasn't elected in Saratoga Springs because of, I was elected because of what I was able to do in 2008. That's the reason why. I'm here to represent Utah to Washington, not the other way around. But Matheson will not be able to define me the way he has the others. I am not, my message resonates with everyone from Tea Party, should, all the way over. Because I'm about getting our fiscal house in order. I'm about uniting Utahns under that same umbrella. The things that are important to us. That's what I'm focused on. Those are the things I'm going to do. There's only so much political capital. I'm worried about the debt and the economy. Remember, fiscal discipline, limited government, personal responsibility. That's my focus.
Following on that question,
Yes.
how is Matheson going to use the fact that you're black